We know that if we want to avoid catastrophic global warming, we need to reduce emissions. But it can be quite hard to get your head around how to do that. There's this really simple idea.
This stuff has to be kept in the ground. It cannot be dug up.
Because there's only one reason you get it out of the ground, and that is to burn it.
Leave it in the ground.
Keep oil in the soil and the coal in the hole.
That's Bill's simple proposition.
It's the only way forward.
You actually can't use the majority of the reserves that have been identified by fossil fuel companies.
So this idea of keeping it in the ground comes from Bill McKibben. And there are really three numbers that you need to know.
3 facts.
First is 2 degrees.
2 degrees.
2 degrees.
That is the threshold for dangerous climate change. The second number
565
is 565 gigatons.
gigatons.
Now that's the amount of carbon dioxide that we can safely release into the atmosphere and still have a reasonable chance of staying below 2 degrees. That is kind of a carbon budget.
When you start getting beyond that,
things start getting really bad. And the third number, and this is kind of the scary number, is
2795 gigatons.
Now that's the amount of carbon dioxide that would be released if all of the fossil fuel reserves that we know about already were dug up and burned. You will have noticed that 2,795 is a lot bigger than 565.
We have way more fossil fuel in the reserves than we could possibly burn.
if they were to burn those reserves, never mind ones they haven't yet explored, just the ones they've already identified, you would end up emitting so much carbon that you would produce catastrophic climate change.
Astonishingly.
Companies are still looking for more. And in fact, last year, I think they spent over 700 billion looking for more.
So there's a real tension there.
And while you are trying to persuade people to change their light bulbs and to drive less often or whatever it might be, if this stuff is still being pumped out of the ground, all those rather feeble measures are going to prove to be useless.
Were we to burn
We can't actually burn.
all the fossil fuels which are there, it would lead to inevitable disaster. There's not a question of it. It's just that
We should be tackling the fossil fuel companies directly. Leave it
in the ground.
in the ground.
This stuff has to be kept in the ground. It cannot be dug up.
it's the only way forward.